All right. Hello, everyone. This is Pilleater for a special Pilleater cast. This is technically a Spinning Top Club episode, but I'm gonna have the Distributist on right now, and we're gonna talk about the transgressive liberal elite, homo nationalism, and aliens. So I am actually going to call him on Skype right now and see what he has to say on that matter. So you're in for a treat. I'm about to call the modern distributist and talk to him about such activities. All right, here I go. Calling on Skype.
Hello?
Hello, is this the distributist?
Yeah, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
All right. I'm on vacation, so I'm just chilling out and visiting with friends and family.
Where are you vacationing at?
California.
Oh, okay, I never been to California.
Yeah, it's just like any other state, pretty much.
How different is it?
Well, how do you want me to answer that question?
Well, no,
compared to what?
It just matters because it sounds different.
Well, I'm not so sure how you want me to answer that question.
I don't know. I mean, I never been to California, but I just think it's interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to know the state of California and what this means.
What means?
This is the state of California.
Well, I mean, you mean means with relation to something else, right?
Yeah, like the Calixit and the transgressive liberal elite.
You keep on saying transgressive liberal elite, and I don't know if that's a widely used term.
I know it's not a widely used term, and I know you've probably heard
use it like everyone else should know what it means.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I apologize. I mean, it's like it sounds like Alex Jones should know it, but it basically means that there are people who do like piss Christ, and people like Jim Goad who go around and like.
I don't know who Jim Goad is.
Oh, you don't know who Jim Goad is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh crap! Oh, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you don't know who Emily Eucas is either. So
I know who Emily Eucas is because she's been on. Well, she's
on
been
your show. Around. On your show.
Pardon me?
She's been on your show.
No.
She hasn't. How do you know her?
I don't know her personally. I've seen her on other YouTube channels.
Oh, okay. Well,
plus she's in with the Spencer crowd, and they're hard to ignore.
Yeah. The Spencer crowd's pretty bad. I mean, well, I kind of been with the Spencer crowd, and I got the laydown about how Spencer snorts coke and everything, and things like that. But again, it seems like the alt-right has like felled into this. Okay, so I don't want to. Okay, maybe I should use the word because we're about to digress in here about homo nationalism. So, but the transgressive liberal elite isn't like David Icke, like lizard people.
You know, I'll just a word of warning. Like, you're going to have to define your terms into English that, like, most people use in everyday parlance. Like, if you tell me, like, a bunch of stuff about XX nationalism or YX nationalism and, like, no one's talked about this, like, say, for instance, to the extent that you'd see on an ordinary YouTube channel, likelihood me and almost everyone else you talk to isn't going to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. I know that's the danger of being on internet politics is that you have to define yourself a lot, and it's difficult. But again, I mean, that's what I'm trying to find. But I don't know if you because because the main topic because I know you've advocated a homo nationalism before. Is that correct?
That sounds absolutely. Well, first of all, A, I don't even know what homo nationalism is. B, does that sound like anything a traditionalist Catholic would advocate for?
No, it doesn't. I'm just saying it's part of the decadence. Like Andy Nowicki, who's like a Catholic, is like totally against it. But I'm saying it's there. Like you know about countercurrents, right?
Yeah, I know of countercurrents. I don't really read it.
Yeah, because they advocate the homo nationalist agenda. It's if you look in the text, but people like.
I mean, you're telling me, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying. There's just some individuals who know about this, and it's being really popular in such I don't want to say
I don't largely characterize people with bisexual proclivities. It's not really my style.
Yeah, of course not, because there's some people who are bisexual and people prefer Asian women, so it's just not. Oh, sorry. But yeah, it's just a big issue on that, and it just seems that if you make this intersectional homo nationalist and transgressive liberal elite, you start to realize that the whole YouTube game.
You still haven't defined your terms.
I'm sorry. I'm in bed right now, so I'm trying to put my words together. So okay, how can I define it? Like homo is gay, and like nationalism is. Like,
I know what homosexual means.
Okay,
that's not what the problem is.
All right. Yeah,
you're telling me that if I went to someone, what is an editor of Countercurrents? If I went to Greg Johnson, he'd tell me he would support this. He would use that word.
No, he wouldn't. Because
or is this a word you've invented for him?
Okay, this word was invented by some postmodernist critical theorists, and it's on Wikipedia. But you can't tell Greg that, because Craig doesn't like talking about that, because it's an ad hominem and it shames him. But again, I've already. Well, I mean, it's secret, but it's just something that's talked and made fun of. Like Colin Liddell of Alt-Right Blogspot will call Greg Johnson gay, but he just ignores it. And so it's not that the claim is like bad because it can't be proven. It's just that the homo nationalist sphere is now being finally talked about through like people like Matt Pagan of Alt of Center and the Stark Truth Show. So it's kind of reaching out now as a current issue that if we're going to talk about the far right and what's happening, we need to talk about creating spaces for homo nationalism without getting into the transgressive liberal elite.
Why?
Because then people will be self-autonomized, and individuals.
What do you mean self-automatized?
Like kind of like everyone has their own ethno-state, or like it's not liberal.
I don't think that's possible in the way that Countercurrents talks about it.
Can you tell me why?
I mean, what do you mean by ethno-state? Do you mean like you're going to have autonomous reign on $1 trillion piece of property? And how would you even procure this?
I think that it's all relative intersectional talk about being.
I don't like keep it in simple words.
Not
the simpler the words, the clearer the thought will
everyone is being a collective where everyone is against liberalism, and they want private spaces to do their own philosophy. So if people like Deaf and June and Dead Can Dance, but they're gay at the same time, they could still have their place. Well,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if they are they going to form a collective on that basis? Probably.
Some of them have. They have Facebook pages.
Oh, I really doubt this is going to get much beyond that. In order to have something that lasts as a collective, it needs to be intergenerational. So it can't be based on like personal proclivities. Like because I like something or even like something a lot, it can't be used as a basis for any kind of lasting community because the community has to be intergenerational. So the tastes have to carry whatever the desires are, or they have to be able to be handed down. And the problem is that a lot of the things you're talking about, they don't hand down.
Okay, so for
homosexuality itself has a very hard time reproducing itself genetically.
I know,
which makes it very difficult. I don't think there'll ever be. Maybe I've talked to people who want like these separatist societies on the left, but there's the likelihood that you're going to get some kind of separatist commune based on a non-reproductive strategy. Very unlikely.
So like the
thing is with anything that needs to separate itself, it needs to be able to be handed down. It needs to be sustainable in the long term.
So if Ryan Folk wants like a homo nationalist state, it's just not going to happen because it's all talk, right?
I never heard Ryan Folk advocate for that.
Well, yeah, he said he's gay, but it's just his. Well, yeah, it's because recently he's stopped the white nationalists because he's going up against the transgressive liberal.
No, that's not the thing. I asked you if you ever advocated for what you said, and I think the answer is no. Right?
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, so we're putting words in his mouth right now. He's not actually advocating for this. Are you advocating for this?
Is he advocating for homo nationalism?
No, not in my. I haven't heard him say that.
I just heard he
Have
was
you
gay.
heard him say
Well,
that?
you just said he was gay, but you know.
I don't know that for sure either.
Well,
You're
no.
telling me. What do we actually have from, since we're talking about Ryan Falk? Like, let's go to his actual statements and not words that we imagined he might say. Like, this is.
He said that
I highly recommend going to what people actually say and not what we're like imagining, like idealized or simplified versions of them saying, you know?
He just said that if he was to be put in a gas chamber by Eric Stryker, that because he's gay, he would be going off first and dying.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, no, he just said in a YouTube video.
You said to me earlier.
And that means he's gay, and he's saying what he's saying because of ethno-nationalism. But
and you care about this? Why?
I care about this because this is the freedom against the anti-liberal regime, and this is what people want. But now everything has become a system of objects where people are now just making money off of each other.
Well, they always do that, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I just want to get your opinion on that.
Things that are going on are going on. That's what I'm hearing, I guess, basically.
So JF, the French guy, he's doing it for money.
Oh, I'm sure. But how does that impact me? I don't see how it impacts me.
Because it's a part of the transgressive liberal elite.
That's your word, not mine. I have never used transgressive liberal elite. I think it's vague.
What would be more cohesive?
Who's not part of the transgressive liberal elite? You've accused me of being part of the transgressive liberal elite.
Let's see. Who's not a part of it? I think who's not a part of it are just like, well, first of all, this is really confusing and kind of like a matrix thing where people like normal white cisgendered people, they're not a part of it. But now the alt-right has become like a queer culture where by being queer and transgressive is pretending you're advocating these normal people out in Altoona, Pennsylvania. But then it turns out that was just a proxy and you just follow.
This sounds incredibly complicated.
Yeah, it's like.
It sounds like a conspiracy theory, personally.
Yeah, it's kind of like Alex Jones, but it's not exactly like Alex Jones.
Okay, but I don't really respect Alex Jones from journalism.
Why is that?
I don't think he should be censored, but.
Yeah, he shouldn't be censored, but why?
What?
Why is he bad?
Because he doesn't do honest journalism? That's one reason.
But if he says that the elites want transcendence and they believe in 3 different interdimensional worlds, does that make him bad? He's telling the truth.
I need evidence for that, and that's what Alex Jones doesn't provide.
Well, he probably read it from a science fiction book. It's by Gene Wolfe. It's called Book of the New Sun.
Yeah, I know. I've read that book too, but that's science fiction. That's not reality.
But Severian is Jesus.
It's science fiction. It didn't actually happen.
But Wolfe's wisdom, it shows you, and Jones.
Okay, you understand that fiction books are not real, right?
They're not real, but they provide us with wisdoms about the world.
Okay, great. But wisdom, like abstract wisdom, is not journalism. And you can't say, okay, reporters don't get to report fictionalized accounts of things, call it journalism, and then say, well, because the fiction had wisdom in it, this is journalism. That's not accurate how you do journalism.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I'm just saying that more people need to be educated that, okay, I mean, David Icke says it's like lizard people, but if you think of like the elites being like hydral shapeshifters, that's what they're really for, and they're going to create decadence.
That's not real. That's not real. That's not really happening.
And what ethno-nationalism wants is the creation of Ushas, and what the Decadent Party wants is Ragnarok. It's just the endless winter.
Okay,
that's what's happening.
This is a fictional universe.
Okay. But I'm just saying, it's just a lot of good wisdom.
You understand between fiction and nonfiction, right?
Because nonfiction is the reality. Like,
yes.
Like Ryan Falk. And Ryan Falk, he's going against the elites by being a creative artist, by pointing out the queers so people can think for themselves. But the queers are going at him because they want the consumers to get their money. See what I'm saying?
No, because you're mixing up fiction with reality. Like what you keep you tell me people say things that they don't actually say, and then we're talking about imaginary science fiction ideologies that don't really exist.
Well, I think it's important to know this because needs to be, people need to know this because then people
they need to have it reported to them as wisdom and not as journalism.
I think
that's what they need.
I think Alex Jones does a good job with that.
No, he does not, because he claims to be a journalist.
Okay.
Now, I'm very sorry he got censored, and I want to fight against that with everything that I can muster. But he is not doing journalism.
So, do you believe that transhumanism is the enemy?
I think it's a problem.
Yeah, I think it's a problem too. I think transhumanism is bad, and that's why ethno-nationalism is fighting against it.
I see no consistent voice in that regard.
I mean, again, I don't want to make a loop where it sounds like, Alex Jones talking about the elites, but I'm trying to make this connection where people like Emily Eucas and Sam Hyde and Jim Goad, what they're really doing is they're a part of the decadent problem that's in it for the quick cash grab. And what's really happening is that no new art is being formed because people are a part of this higher problem, and that we really have to go back to the basics of fighting for some kind of human biodiversity and the creation of arts against the...
You're just throwing out buzzwords. Human biodiversity is not something you procure. It's something that either exists or doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, can I say anti-liberal?
That has nothing to do with human biodiversity. I guess you could.
What about Nicklandian philosophy?
What about it?
It's like he's saying the same thing, but he's just saying Skynet's the problem.
Okay. I mean, this is incredibly sloppy thinking.
I mean, I have it all written in my books, where one of my books about...
Okay, that's great, but I mean, we're communicating right now. And I appreciate that you wrote this down, but it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really scan.
But I just feel like you're a part of the elite.
Well, what does that even mean?
That means you're a part of the problem because you're sedating people and making them play this centrist game of understanding the world, but that's not true.
Okay. Are you part of the elite?
I think not now.
I mean, like, how does this even work? So anyone you disagree with is part of this elite?
Not everyone. It's just the people who get it.
Okay. I mean, this is a conspiracy theory.
Well, it's okay. Well, yes, it is a conspiracy theory, but it's also going to be kind of what's going to be critical against fourth wave deconstruction and fifth wave feminism, and bring about kind of the new arts, and people are not going to be stuck into the racist 1488er talk.
Okay. You don't like... I mean, I appreciate that you don't like the alt-right, but,
well, for a long time, my long time, I was alt-left.
I thought you were alt-right, but
no, because for a long time I was alt-left, and that doesn't make sense. Well, because there was Brandon Adamson's alt-left and was like beatnik fascist, and then Donald Trump said the alt-left was Antifa, and Antifa is like hardcore.
I understand that everyone has a different word for it, but that's not strengthening your case that you can be that thing. If it's just like everyone has a different word for this thing that I am. It sounds like that thing is just really, really vague then.
Well, it just means that you want friends, family, and freedom, and that you're like artsy, but you...
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, who doesn't want that? That's exactly right. That's like...
So it's not an actual label that distinguishes you from other people. It's just a compliment you're paying to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that there's like...
That makes it not a very useful label, wouldn't you say?
It is a label, but it's a label that's going to change everything and stop the endless merchant and consumer exploitation and create kind of a new avant-garde arts, which is
I really
informed.
doubt. I mean, go ahead, create new avant-garde art. I'm certainly for that, but I don't see how that's creating a label that everyone is essentially a part of doesn't do anything.
Okay. I mean, well, yeah, it doesn't do anything, but it's another journalist category of moving human thought forward.
I disagree with that. I don't think it does do that.
Can you tell me why?
I think the only reason human thought moves forward is if you can point to something that someone actually holds and say that's the wrong way, or point to a position that someone actually holds and say that's the right way. If you critique a position that doesn't exist, if you critique elites that aren't self-proclaimed or you can't point to, or you critique them for things that they don't admit to, then you're not actually doing intellectual work. All you're doing is inventing realities for yourself where you can present yourself as something heroic or whatnot.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we disagree. Both of us disagree that we are okay. No, well, the similarities is that we're both trying to push ahead against the alt-right. Is that correct?
I suppose. I'm trying to reform it.
So you believe in white nationalism?
I don't.
Why is that?
I believe in reactionary thinking. I don't think that racial categories are stable enough, and I don't think race is a proper basis to build society on, in short.
Yeah. And so is Ryan Falk right or wrong?
On what?
On his reaction against white nationalism. I think he was right.
Well, that's not really what I critiqued him for, though. My problem wasn't with Ryan Falk's critique of white nationalism. It was the fact that he didn't seem to be consistently executing any one philosophy, and he seemed to be blowing in the wind. He was a fervent white nationalist one day, and then suddenly he's totally against it, and he shows no ability to handle his own ideas in a responsible way. And to me, that's the real problem with Ryan Falk.
So is it the problem that he's not catering to his audience or something else?
I don't know. You mean catering to his audience?
Because he was actually
he's not being a consistent voice to his audience.
He was going against his audience.
Well, that's all well and good, but I mean, what do you want me to do about? I mean, he's going against his audience.
Just don't advocate the people who say he's wrong, because he's right.
What do you mean? Look, I'm not at that simplistic level. Like, this is not right or wrong. I can critique him in some areas and support him in others. I think he's an incredibly ineffective leader.
Okay. And
I think that is a huge problem for people who want to actually get somewhere on the right.
So he's it's a problem, right?
Well, what is a problem? Be specific.
Ryan Falk doing his refuting
Ryan
video.
Falk's, the way he executed his change of opinion is a problem, yes.
Wait, why is it a problem?
It's a problem because he drew people out into a position of white nationalism and then essentially left them hanging. With very little recourse for them to go back to. And that's a huge problem for these movements.
Yeah, exactly. Because, well, I think Ryan Falk is right because he betrayed his what? Not that I shouldn't be using the word betrayed. I'm saying is
okay, but are you agreeing with me or are you disagreeing with me? It seems like you're trying
I'm disagreeing with you because you're saying that it's bad for Ryan Falk to not be on the stage page with the audience because I always believe the audience sucks and you should always be against your audience.
Okay. Yeah. That's ridiculous. All audiences aren't one uniform opinion.
Well, the audience always changes the master, and the master pretends to be the audience, and then the master always has to...
You're going over to vagaries again. What is the master? Like, these things don't mean anything unless you actually relate them to things in the real world that we see. It can't just be your conception of the world without anything around it.
I'm saying is that I believe that it was good for Ryan Falk to express a new opinion that his alt-right audience wasn't ready for because all his alt-right audience are just Midwest kids who want to consume into like this 1488 stuff. And
so I mean, this is just a conception of what his audience is like, though. I mean, like, what are you actually for? Like, let's just go there, right? Like, what are you actually for?
Asian Aryanism.
What the hell does that fucking mean?
It just means like the future is going to be Eurasian, and that like people are better off in their own. I don't want to say
future is going to be Eurasian, except that the two groups have hostilities and rivalries. And
the
idea that you're going to build an identity group inside something that big is it's never going to happen. Right? There's never going to be a common Eurasian identity.
I would have to disagree with that because Asian Aryanism disagrees with that.
Do you belong to an Asian Aryan community right now?
Yes, I do.
How many people are in it?
4.
4?
Yes.
And like how many? So it's a community of 4 people.
Yeah.
This is out of billions of Asians and Aryans, or Asians and white people.
Well, the Asian Aryan is just a funny word that I made up, but it really just means Eurasian future.
Yeah, I know you made it up. It sounds like something you made up, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any actual. What does it take to be an Asian Aryan? Like, am I one?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Because you can't tell me. Like, what would you have to know about me in order to categorize me this way?
Well, I used to say a thing where like you'd be for your own interest is if you are just a guy, you're in a relationship. It's white and Asian.
You answer my question.
No, I'm trying to find the right words. Wait, repeat your question.
What would you have to know about me in order to tell me whether I was part of this thing called Asian Aryanism?
If you attended art galleries, vegan restaurants, punk rock concerts, and live in an inner city in Chinatown.
So it's only people who've done those things?
It's most of them, but I would like to make it spread out to the middle and working classes.
Well, the middle and working classes don't do those things. They can't afford them.
Yeah.
How can the middle and working classes live in Chinatown?
Well, they'll just watch anime and think they're an anime.
What the fuck?
Well, I mean...
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm talking about
are you
Asian
listening
Aryanism.
To yourself?
No, I'm talking about Asian Aryanism.
I know you're fucking talking about Asian Aryanism, but you're just repeating like these random words. Like, first you tell me that Asian Aryanism, whatever that means, is essentially living like a hipster lifestyle.
Well, it sort of is.
Any person of any race who lives a hipster lifestyle is part of Asian Aryanism.
It's a possibility, yeah.
No. What do you actually require?
Okay. Well, first, okay, so what I required, I'm just trying to remember a blog post I written about. And in this blog post I written 2 years ago, I said it requires basically, I don't want to say words that you will say they're not real, but it's like,
yeah, I don't want to relate this to words that are actually used in the English language, and not words that were invented.
So I can't say self-autonomized.
If you define what it means in a simpler language, then that's fine.
Okay, so
people in the inner cities usually are not self-sufficient for obvious reasons, and hipsters certainly are not. Hipsters rely on a number of consumer goods that they can't possibly produce themselves to give their identities meaning. So they are radically non-autonomized.
So I think people like Sarah Jeong, she just can't be anti-white. She has to be like pro-white Eurasian.
She is anti-white.
Well, why? She doesn't have to.
What do you mean? You tell me. She probably goes to vegan restaurants and listens to punk rock albums and goes to galleries. Actually, I'm pretty sure she does all those 3 things. If you look at her biography, she's radically anti-white.
But she needs to be yellow-pilled so she can be pro-white.
Why?
So Asian Aryanism.
No, because you want her to be.
Yeah.
That's meaningless.
Why?
That's meaningless because they're just saying like, oh, I wish reality wasn't the way it was. That's all you're telling me. You're saying that I wish that there was this consilience between Asians and white people and it was this common identity, but it's not. It's not because you don't see it in communities that have these people in them.
But
they're more or less antagonistic.
But I want it to happen.
Well, that's fine, but it's not happening. And you're going to have to come to terms with that at some point.
Well, I don't want to be a race realist white nationalist.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, how can you be both? How can you be a racial nationalist and also want to break down the boundary. It makes no sense.
Because you're
subverting your own community.
You need words and institutions and meanings to create something new that will create. I mean, again, I don't want to say human diversity because you don't like that word. So what is
the institution and ethos that you're using to create this community?
Books and music and arts that will eventually create harmony within people. And
books and music and art are a medium. They're not a specific ethos. Books contradict each other. An ethos is a common narrative that a group of ideas have together, not just art in general.
Okay. So like, no, I'm sorry.
You sound really confused, man. Like to me,
I am very confused.
It sounds to me like this is what's happened. Like you got on this alt-right thing and you got disillusioned with it. And now you're trying to project onto it something that couldn't even conceivably happen and is manifestly not happening, with the hopes that by naming it, you'll make it happen.
It's a possibility, but I'm sorry, I'm saying possibility. It's a probability.
Everything is a possibility.
It's a probability. I'm thinking the right word. I don't have the right word checker on me, but I'm saying is that it's okay. Maybe I could say it this way, that it's like that there's a certain group of people, and it's like, I think we disagree because you say that you want it both ways, but I'm saying is that
what exactly did I say?
You said that you can't have it both ways. Well, that's just
no, you cannot simultaneously rely on a category and deconstruct it. That is correct. That's what the left is currently learning right now, and it will learn very quickly. You cannot have your cake and eat it too.
So does that mean
you're either going to deconstruct a category, or you're going to build your society up around it.
Well, that kind of makes sense because
you cannot deconstruct race and have your society rely on race.
What?
You could deconstruct race if you wanted to have your society rely on something else, which I recommend. But you cannot have your society rely on a concept that you're simultaneously deconstructing. I'm sorry, man. This is reality.
So, if I agreed with all that, I could still have a place like Vancouver or Singapore.
I mean, Vancouver and Singapore exist. Have you been to Vancouver?
Yes.
How many times have you been to Vancouver?
Like 6 times.
Like I'm like essentially living half time. I don't consider Vancouver to be a particularly cohesive place, if you pardon me.
Okay. So like, yeah, so it's
Vancouver,
bad.
There's certainly nothing stopping you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, housing value might stop you.
So I'm just saying is, if you told me that that's reality, but we might disagree on that, but do you still think there can be a certain group of people or cultural hipster lifestyle where you have these things where both East and West is conflicting with one another, but at the same time creates a progressive path where people are not just segregated by whites, blacks only, and it becomes, like, as I said, bicultural, right? I think we're agreeing on the same thing now.
Well, no. Well, I mean, I don't know. You with something more than you have in a place like Portland or Seattle or Vancouver, like you mentioned.
Yes.
I mean, that's essentially what you have there right now. I mean, do you have a problem with modern urban life?
No, I don't. Okay,
so you have your utopia, man. Go for it.
I'm just saying we disagree, and on the part that you belong to this. Okay, so the transgressive illiterate, they're using the alt-right stuff to hurt people's dreams for like Asianarianism happening because they think it's reality. But the truth of the matter is,
elite are stopping places from like Portland. I think they basically endorse places like Portland. I've known a lot of people who are liberal progressives like yourself.
Yeah,
and,
because
they're more or less in favor of the lifestyles.
Because they want the Kalergi plan and they want decadence, and they don't want.
Well, there's a problem. The hipster lifestyle is decadent.
Yeah, it's decadent, but you can make what's the opposite word of decadent? Healthy. Healthy, which would mean
what would you need for that to happen?
A sense of
think about that for a second.
And destruction of consumer culture in favor of this
I mean, in this healthy culture, would people get married and have children? Yeah. Or would they go on throughout their lives having however 25, 30, 40 sexual partners?
Yeah, that sounds bad, but some people will do that. But
I'd say most people will do that. And if you go to people in Portland and Seattle and Vancouver and ask them, they are in the process of doing that.
well, my friend honorary Aryan, he said that there'll just be a harem, or like people will have multiple wives, and then this his version of Asian Aryanism is like,
how are you going to manage that?
You have to ask honorary Aryan, because I
Well,
asked him
then
this
don't
before.
bring it up. If it's someone else's idea that you can't explain, then why talk about it, right?
Well, I'm just tipping my hat to him, because he says that this promiscuous lifestyle will everyone will be like Muslim,
right? But is that the tendency? Are women becoming more available as feminism and cultural progressivism is advanced, or are they becoming less?
Yeah, I think I don't want to talk
right?
to her. I don't think I want to speak for honorary Aryan, but I think
I'm asking you to speak for yourself right now.
Yeah, sorry. I am speaking for myself, and I'm saying is that
let's not introduce people's ideas.
Yeah, I
think you see the problems inherent in the system.
Yeah, the problems.
And what you're hoping will happen won't happen. Do you see in these urban areas like Vancouver and Seattle and New York, and do you see pro-white attitudes developing or anti-white attitudes developing?
Anti-white, but it'll become pro-white once we infiltrate.
Oh yeah, good luck.
And I think we disagree on that. Yeah,
like the 4 people we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing, because a lot of on the alt-right hates academia because it's all brainwashing and whatnot. But if you want to have an alt-right spear, you gotta make new alt-right professors, and you gotta have.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do, but it can be accomplished, and the same thing could be done in the so-called decadent places of urban.
What's giving you this confidence?
What's giving me this confidence? I don't know, everything.
What experience do you have with academia?
I just work there, and so it's just like whatever.
What position do you hold?
I'm just a guy that checks people in the library.
I've gotten my PhD in this science, and the guardrails that they have on that system are pretty locked up.
So, like, I mean, you have your PhD, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So you
just got it.
So that's great, because now you're going to infiltrate the system and
I wouldn't count on it. The possibility of getting a professorship is very slim.
You have a PhD.
It's very difficult to do.
You could fight against Greg Johnson.
Why do I need a PhD to do that?
Because he has a PhD.
I could fight against Greg Johnson with the YouTube account. PhD doesn't even enter into it.
You should fight against Greg Johnson.
Who cares? He's a marginal figure.
Well, he's going to get bigger.
Do you understand the difference between the academic system and a fringe figure writing for a fringe publication on the internet?
But other academics
are not equivalent at all in terms of power.
He gets cited, and if you don't fight against them, the homo nationalists are going to win.
Cited by who?
I don't know. It just makes me feel like you're a part of the homo nationalist cabal.
What the fuck are you talking about? Do I look like a homo nationalist? What does even homo nationalist mean?
It's like the gay manner bun.
You've invented a conspiracy, and if I don't agree with you, you want to lump me in with this conspiracy.
I'm just afraid you are.
No, look, it's a conspiracy you invented, dude. It's not real.
It's a cutting edge continental philosophy. It's cutting edge.
Who invented this thing? Like, aside from yourself.
I gotta Google search it. Can you Google search it for me?
You want? Is this an Alex Jones thing?
No, it's real. It's like this feminist professor talks about gays that are far right.
Okay, so what about it?
They want a Mannerbund society where they hate women and that the gays rule all the creative arts. And
I talked to a lot of alt-right people, and none of them have advocated
Greg
for this.
Johnson sort of wants it. I think you should debate it on your channel.
I know for a fact he hasn't advocated for that.
You have to open minds. You have a PhD now. You have to open minds.
What do you mean? What does the PhD do? You tell me.
It makes you smart.
What?
It makes you smart.
No, it does not make you smart. Have you learned nothing? It's a letter. It's a title. It means nothing outside of the institutional endorsement. It's not magic.
But you got it.
Oh, okay, great. So what does that do? It does nothing. Look, you're talking about ideas.
You can lead
people.
Has not. You can lead people to anything you want.
I am leading people,
and that's
nothing to do with a PhD.
But you can't be a part of the transgressive liberal elite, or it's decadence.
What the fuck are you talking about? What do you think I'm doing that's decadent?
I think you're controlling people and you're saying Asianarianism won't happen.
I am saying Asianarianism won't happen because you admitted it wasn't happening.
Why? I didn't say that.
Because you admitted it wasn't happening.
It's not. It's okay.
You admitted that every one of your predictions was the exact opposite was occurring. You admitted that there was no cohesive societies forming in the urban areas like the ones you envisioned. You admitted that anti-white animus was going up in the very areas you particularly would go down in. And you admitted that there would be no cohesive cultural core once you subverted the very principle that you're trying to build a society on. Like I said, you can't have a society that subverts the very reason for its existence.
Well, I mean, okay, well, and that's what we have hoping.
Are there answers to this? I haven't heard any, frankly. And that is why you yourself are currently admitting that it is not happening, and without a radical change in the direction of the society, which by all means procure if you can, it will not happen.
But it can if you believe in yourself.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
But
so
I
we
don't
agree
make
on
bets on what can happen. I make bets on what's likely to happen. And likelihood of this outcome of happening is being reduced to a very, very low order of magnitude. Lower than Richard Spencer's asinine ethnicity at this point.
So do you hate Ryan Falk?
I don't. Well, Ryan Falk hates me. I don't really have an opinion on the guy. I don't make it a purpose of hating.
Why does he hate you?
Even people who radically insult me, like Ryan Falk, or
wait,
well, to be quite honest,
what did he say that he hates you for?
He hates me because he feels that I have not paid him proper respect that he's deserved.
Is it like a citation?
I mean, it's probably the same reason you insulted me, right?
Well, I insulted you because you're part of the YouTube elite, and you're like not telling
what makes me part of the YouTube elite?
Because you told me you hate Ryan Falk. You want Ryan Falk to be.
No, I didn't. I didn't tell you. Now you're lying about things that I said.
Well, no, I'm assuming.
Did I tell you that I hate Ryan Falk? Answer me yes or no.
No. So
that was a lie.
But I'm assuming it.
Just 5 seconds ago.
I'm assuming it.
No, you said that I said I hate Ryan Falk, and that's manifestly a lie, as you know. So you're currently just sitting here lying about things that I know aren't true, and now you're accusing me of being dishonest. I find that a little hard to swallow.
Well, you're being dishonest because you're leading your people and they're consuming and giving you money.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, everyone needs.
You mean like I get a minuscule amount of money from Patreon? I have got a job.
Yeah, I have a job too, and everyone gets money. But if you get money, then everything's going to be like, I want more money.
So if you get any money from the internet, you're a shell. I've heard this 1,000 times before. It's not worth my time.
I mean, JF gets a lot.
Anybody who gets any money for the things they do is a shell.
Yeah, I mean, JF got money.
This is a non-serious argument, and you won't get anywhere for this, right? Have you ever sold a book?
Yeah.
Oh, you got money for it. I guess that means you're a shell, right? I mean, you got money for it, right?
Well, everyone has to play the game in order to get ahead.
Okay, well, then I'll just say the same thing about my fucking shit.
Oh.
Like, do you like?
Well, the difference is you're making
like self-awareness here. Jesus,
you're just saying.
Do you have any self-awareness of yourself?
Yes.
Well, apparently not enough, because you're accusing me of things that you're admitting that you yourself are guilty of.
Well, okay, race mixing might be one guilt, and everyone says that, but that's not true.
I don't consider race mixing to be a wrong.
Of course, I agree with you.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, you discovered that I'm not alt-right, but you're going to have a hard time finding people in the alt-right who.
But you're getting people on your side, and you're making them hate Ryan Falk and Asianarianism.
I'm getting them to hate. I never talked about Asianarianism. I've critiqued Ryan Falk, and if they're not intelligent enough to understand this, then why the fuck should I care? I mean, it's their responsibility to understand what I'm saying. What have I actually said that I disagree with? Do you think Ryan Falk is spurging out and saying things that are frankly untrue about Richard Spencer, which destroys his credibility?
Like snorting coke.
And people shouldn't follow him because he has zero credibility.
No, I like Richard Spencer. I hanged out with him, but I'm just worried about the coke.
You like him?
Well, he just snorts coke. That's all I'm curious about.
Oh, yeah, well, fine. The guy's a fucking lunatic. You're admitting that he's a coke addict.
He is.
Oh, my God. That destroys his credibility.
I know. We have to do something about it.
No, I don't. I have to not associate with him was what I have to do.
I just
I'm
think
not responsible for Richard Spencer destroying his own movement.
I
He's
just-
done a great job of that.
I just don't want him to be this, like, he's being self-destructive and he's going into like
No shit. And intelligent people get away from self-destructive
he's
people.
being like a rock and roller, and he's
You know who else is being self-destructive right now? Ryan Falk.
well,
There
because
are
he hates
1,000
white
ways that
nationalism.
Ryan Falk could have doubled back on himself and could have ensured that you wouldn't have to do this in the future if he'd been a little bit more careful. And he manifestly refused to do them. He burns all of his bridges. He tells people like me who are marginally sympathetic to what he's trying to do to fuck off because he doesn't think that I'm paying him proper respect. Whatever the fuck. You know, I did nothing. So, like, if he wants to be self-destructive, he can go ahead and do that. But I'm going to call it out. And I'm going to tell my followers that they should stay away from self-destructive people like Richard Spencer and Ryan Falk, because they are self-destructive people. And if you get involved with them, they're going to destroy you. That's what people who like them do. They destroy people around them.
I agree with you.
Okay, great. So I'm glad to have corrected you on this. And this is something that I'm offering to people who would care to listen to me on my platform, is to stay away from these horrible leaders.
I just want everyone to know this is the truth, but everyone become focused in an alt left against, okay, I don't want to say that word. I want to say like alien elite, because that's what's really happening. The shape-shifting alien elite that's figured out Yasad, and they're looking at us at Briha. That's what's really happening.
Well, I mean, good luck. I mean, I fight against things that I can actually see tangibly in the real world, not against conspiracy theories. Right now, there are some openings available for people who do not like the current establishment's direction. You can take it or you don't take it. That's basically the only options available to you.
And
now, if you think that they're from the planet Neptune or whatever, I can't help you. But, you know, that's not really for me to discern. Like, you can develop your own conspiracy theories if you like. I don't think it leads anyone down a productive path. I'll say that for sure.
Okay, but I think the thing we disagree with, and what I'm concerned, is to just tell you that I want you to lead people, but I don't want you to lead them to hating Asianarianism, because that will lead people.
I promise you I will never talk about Asianarianism because it doesn't exist.
It will exist, though.
Good. Yeah, I'll be happy to assess it when it does exist, and I hope that it is within ethical norms, within the ethics of a Christian worldview. And I see no problem if you want to try to create some kind of new society of whatever Asianarianism is. I think you're going to have a hard time, especially if you try to exclude people. If you try to exclude, I mean, again, like if you're going to create a society based on race.
I mean, if you're talking
can
about,
I ask you this? Like,
that?
You know, are you going to exclude certain races from this?
Well, I think there will be Afro-Asians, but the Afro-Asian, it's bicultural.
Are you going to include Africans, like full-blood Africans?
Yeah, they can have Afro-Asianism. Like, there'll be one multicultural Brazilian state, and that will be
so there's one purely multicultural state.
Yeah, that could be like the Cal-X of Brazil.
How are you going to stop this state from going to the lowest common denominator like they usually do?
It's not going to stop. It's just people are going to be segregated and be happy.
Wait, are you going to integrate them or are you going to segregate them?
They'll have their own army and integrate them. Because, like, the first...
Well, no. Your state has to have one monopoly of force. Otherwise, it'll be civil war.
Yeah, it'll be like Eurasians. It'll be like the first empire. And they'll go into space.
Now, you haven't answered my question. Is it going to be racially integrated or is it going to be racially segregated?
It should be racially segregated.
Okay. So, goodbye race mixing.
No, there could be race mixing bicultural states, and they'll create Eurasian people.
Okay, but then you just have a billion states, right? There'll be states for every admixture.
Yeah, because it's the Discord reality.
If you have race mixing, you can kiss racial segregation goodbye.
Yeah.
Everybody who's ever talked about this knows this. You cannot have racial segregation and race mixing. I don't care about race mixing. I'm not a person who's obsessed with race, but I assure you that if you have race mixing, you will not have racial segregation. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to have a black man marry an Asian woman, and then the Asian woman's going to disown her Asian family?
They'll have Blasian Afro-Asian warrior class.
No, I'm talking about, like, in real life, an African-American marries an Asian woman. Is the Asian woman going to disown her Asian family? Is her Asian family going to disown her?
They're going to have ethics of respecting previous families of capital T traditionalism.
Okay, so it's going to be total integration.
Sure.
What are you segregating at that stage? At the stage where there is no social division between the races, and that is integration, not segregation.
Well, I guess it's just
You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. I don't think that this racialist stuff is bad. I don't think race mixing is inherently bad. Certainly, it could create some social problems. We'd have to look at the literature, of course. But there's something ethically wrong with it. But again, I'm just telling you, like as a strict logical principle, you cannot segregate people and then expect race mixing or encourage race mixing, because then families will cross the segregation lines, and the families that cross the segregation lines will tear your standards apart.
This requires a blog post, and I think I've written about this before, but
it's a very simple question, and it's a very simple observation. Everybody who ever wanted segregation knew that they had to discourage interracial marriages. They knew this.
So you're against it. But you have a PhD, and so you have to be.
What the hell are you talking about? What am I against? I just told you that I'm not against.
If you work for academia, you gotta talk about freedom. So you want people.
No, I don't. I don't have to do anything of the sort. I don't have to do anything.
You got to debate Greg Johnson, because Greg Johnson because he has a PhD and he's leading people, and you have a PhD, but you're leading people.
A PhD is a meaningless certificate.
It's like, then why'd you get it? You're a leader.
I am a leader because I have taken that role in a community that I've developed, not because I have a magical 3-letter.
I'm just calling you out as the transgressive liberal elite, a part of the alien class.
Care.
You're part of the alien class, dude.
I don't care about.
And you're trying to stop the Eurasian healthy state of happening.
You can build whatever the heck you want.
I think we agree.
But if you can't see how the very simple logical relationships between the things I said work, then you're never going to get anywhere building your society. I'm sure I will debate Greg Johnson. As a matter of fact, before Tara McCarthy retired her channel, I had a debate with Greg Johnson scheduled. But then she went off the internet, and I don't know what happened to that whole proposition.
You guys should fight and then cite me and say...
Who the fuck cares? Why should I cite you?
Because you called Greg Johnson a homo nationalism a part of
I did not call Greg Johnson anything of the sort, and your lies about what I just said...
No, I'm just saying this is advice. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm just saying you should, when you debate him, you should be like, well, Pilleater said... Well, because Greg Johnson, he's a part of the homo nationalist elite.
That's an ad hominem attack. I do not do ad hominem.
It's not ad hominem. You're trying to educate your people, and you're trying to tell them about what's
education. That is a lie.
You're going to help.
He never
solve
claimed
the
anything
issue.
of the sort. I've never heard him say anything of that matter, and I'm not going to perjure myself on a live stream, putting words in other people's mouths that they did not say or I've never heard them say. Now, if you can come up with a clip of Greg Johnson saying that, then I will be happy to throw that in his face when I talk to him.
You will?
But without any evidence, you give me a quote. I will confront him with his own words when I talk to him. If you give me a quote, I am not going to assert that he advanced a position that he does not hold, or that he said something that I have no evidence that he actually said. That's not... Okay, maybe the mainstream media right now likes this kind of trashy Leela journalism, but it's not something that I will do in public, for sure.
Okay. Well,
and I think you understand why, right? You don't accuse people of positions that they do not claim to have.
But it's
that's not ethical way of conducting an argument.
But it's artistic, and it's true.
It's artistic. Go to a fucking gallery and get out of the debating ring.
I do.
Well, good. You're not in a gallery right now. You're in a person where we actually decide what is going on.
But life is art.
Proper dialectic means you do not get to put words in other people's mouths. That's essentially why we don't treat art pieces as arguments.
Okay. So I think what I have to do...
Go create a picture of Greg Johnson and put a little bubble around his head saying, I support whatever you want. Homo nationalism, is that it? Good. Do that.
Okay.
That will be an art piece. But it will not be an argument.
Okay, so... I have to get a PhD in order to fight you and Greg Johnson.
You don't. Absolutely
in order
not.
to, because then I self become the elite, and I will have an army in order to fight everyone.
Do you really mean this?
Yes.
What do you think a PhD is going to give you?
Smart.
No. There's idiots with PhDs.
I know there's idiots with PhDs, but we have to stop
do you know
it.
you're not going to become an idiot with a PhD?
We have to stop it.
Oh,
we have to stop the Verso books, people. People who read Verso books.
I can't believe that you believe this, frankly.
I do.
That somehow PhDs give you intelligence, or that somehow putting words into people's mouth is going to somehow educate people. It's not going to convince anybody. And I don't think you're going to be able to convince anyone like this. It's not going to go anywhere. It's a contradiction.
Okay, so I think we should end this because
I think we should too.
Go. No, because my girlfriend's outside and she's gonna sleep over tonight. But I think that maybe we should delay this and put this on. We should talk about this and put it on your channel so I can inform your. So I can tell people that comes on my channel that you're wrong.
Well, I can tell you what I think on your channel, but I'm not airing something like this on my channel.
Why not?
Because it's not a topic that I talk about. Yeah. I don't talk about conspiracy theories on my channel.
All right, fine. Well, I'm gonna get my girlfriend now. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good night. Bye.
All right.
Oh shit! He hanged up. Oh my god. Dude, what the fuck? Oh my god, I couldn't stop laughing, dude. Dude, that's how autistic he is. Like, oh my god, like he couldn't even tell it was a joke. Oh my fucking god, man. Jeez. Well, that's some publicity stunt right there. Oh my god. God. Oh my word. You know, it's weird because he just wanted to like, oh my god, this guy, he just wanted to like text me back, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was like, yeah. Because like originally I was supposed to be on his channel. I was trying to do like this Jim Goad like experiment to like push him. And it's like, then when you talk to him, it's like, what? Whoa. Like, no offense. I'm just saying it's like, oh my god, there's a fine line between like, oh my word. My god. Well, whatever. I mean, the coolest dope part is he knows what Gene Wolfe is, the Book of the New Sun. Like, he couldn't get the cross that I believed in, like, Wolfian, like, Book of the New Sun, Alex Jones, Transcendental. Like, that was the thing I was going along with. And just going with it. So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what hell just happened, brah. Oh, great. My girlfriend's actually here. Guys, thank you for viewing and so much. I'm going to put this on. Oh, crap. My girlfriend's calling me. Talk to you guys later. Have a good night.